I met Lauren at a tech conference in Austin. She was standing by a PR booth, smiling like she owned the place. I was giving a talk about cloud systems and stumbled through half of it. Not because I was nervous, but because she kept looking at me. We exchanged numbers that night. She lived in Denver. I was in Seattle. We promised to visit every 2 weeks. It was hard, but she made it feel worth it. Video calls every night. Long messages about our future. She said she wanted to start her own PR agency someday. I told her I'd help however I could. After a year, I took a remote position with higher pay. Moved to Denver. Found a modern apartment downtown. She started spending most nights at my place. Her toothbrush appeared first. Then her clothes. Then one day, half my closet was hers. I didn't mind. It felt like progress. She said her own apartment was small and messy. I never saw it. That was the first red flag. But love makes you blind to patterns. We hiked on weekends. Tried new restaurants. Took photos at art galleries she adored. Her friends always smiled too wide when I was around. Like they knew a joke I didn't. I ignored it. I thought they were just protective. Lauren was ambitious. Always planning, always networking. She talked about clients and contracts I'd never heard of. Sometimes she'd stay late at work. Sometimes she'd travel for meetings. Atlanta, Miami, New York. She'd send selfies from hotel lobbies and rooftop bars. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? She looked happy, and that was enough for me. Money wasn't a problem. I covered dinners. Paid for her online courses. Even bought her a new MacBook when she said hers died. $5,000 gone in an instant. I told myself it was an investment in her dream. She always promised she'd pay me back one day. She never did. But when you love someone, you stop keeping score. We celebrated our 3rd anniversary with a trip to Aspen. I booked the best suite I could afford. She spent half the time scrolling her phone. I asked if she was okay. She said she was tired from work. I believed her again. Around that time, I noticed her ankles swelling. She said it was from walking too much in heels. She brushed it off, and I didn't push. I wish I had. Sometimes she'd get dizzy. Once, she fainted while cooking. She laughed it off like it was nothing. I offered to go with her to the doctor. She refused. Said it was just stress. I didn't know she was already hiding something bigger. I thought we were building a life together. In reality, she was already planning her escape. Every business trip was another secret. Every meeting was another lie. And I was too busy loving her to see the truth. 6 months after moving in together, things began to shift. Lauren started coming home later and later. Her phone was always face down on the table. She laughed at messages, but never shared why. When I asked, she said, just work stuff. Her perfume changed. Her clothes changed too. Designer brands I knew she couldn't afford appeared overnight. She said they were gifts from clients. I wanted to believe her. I told myself she deserved nice things. But something in my gut started whispering that I was losing her. She began taking more business trips. Miami one weekend, Phoenix the next. She'd send selfies from hotel balconies with captions like, "Grind never stops." I'd text goodnight and wait hours for a reply. When she finally answered, it was always short. Busy meeting, dinner with clients, call you later. The later never came. I convinced myself I was overthinking. After all, she still kissed me goodbye in the mornings. Still called me babe. Still said she loved me. But her eyes were different. Colder, distant. When she got home, she'd scroll through her phone for hours. Sometimes she'd smile softly, the kind of smile that wasn't meant for me. One night, I cooked her favorite pasta. She barely touched it. Said she wasn't hungry. I asked if something was wrong. She said everything was fine. Then she asked if I could transfer a few $100s for a conference fee. Of course I did. I always did. I told myself that love meant supporting your partner. But love isn't supposed to feel like charity. Her friends started acting strange too. They glance at me, whisper, then change the subject when I walked in. My best friend, Mark, said she gave him a bad vibe. I told him he was being cynical. I didn't realize he was right. One weekend, she said she had a work retreat in Los Angeles. She packed a new dress I'd never seen before. She looked stunning. Too stunning for a work trip. She hugged me goodbye and said she'd be back Monday. She didn't text the whole weekend. When she returned, she was different. She smelled like a new cologne that wasn't mine. She smiled more, but not at me. I asked if she'd met anyone new. She laughed, said I was paranoid. Then she kissed my cheek like you, calm a child. That night, she slept facing the wall. And I lay awake, wondering what I'd done wrong. The truth was, I hadn't done anything wrong. I just wasn't part of her plan anymore. Lauren was building a new life, while I was still holding on to the old one. She wasn't just pulling away emotionally. She was already halfway gone. And I was too blind, too hopeful, too in love to see that she'd already left me in her mind. It happened on a Tuesday morning. Lauren sat across from me at the kitchen table, coffee in hand, eyes cold. She said she'd been thinking about her life and her career. She said she needed space to focus on herself. She said she couldn't give me what I deserved. Her voice was calm, practiced, like reading from a script. I waited for a reason that made sense. There wasn't one. No fight, no betrayal revealed. Just a sudden wall between us. I asked if there was someone else. She looked offended. Said it wasn't about that. Said she just needed to find herself. I nodded, silent. I didn't beg. I didn't cry. I just felt empty. 4 years together, gone in 10 minutes. By that weekend, she had already moved out. The lease on her new apartment had started the same week. Everything was too perfect, too planned. I realized she'd been preparing this for months. The silence that followed was unbearable. The apartment felt hollow. The bed was too big. The air too quiet. I threw myself into work. Stayed late. Took on new projects. Anything to avoid thinking. Mark kept checking on me, bringing food and beer. He said I'd dodged a bullet. I didn't believe him yet. Until one afternoon, 6 weeks later. I was scrolling through Facebook during a meeting. And there she was. Lauren, smiling next to a man I'd never seen. He wore a pilot's uniform. They stood beside a luxury car at a rooftop restaurant. The caption hit me like a punch. Finally upgrading from economy to first class. Hashtags everywhere. New beginnings, first class living level up. My chest burned. Economy. That's what I was to her. 4 years of love reduced to a punchline. Her friends flooded the comments with hearts and fire emojis. Someone wrote, "You deserve a man who can match your energy." I closed my laptop. Took a deep breath. Opened it again. Typed 2 words in the comment box. Safe travels. Then logged off. No anger. No argument. Just peace. For the first time in months, I felt weightless. Mark called an hour later. "Did you just comment on her post?" "Yeah," I said. He laughed. "Man, that's cold. I love it." But I wasn't being cold. I was finally free. In the weeks that followed, things changed fast. My extra work got noticed. I led a major project that made headlines. The company promoted me to vice president of engineering. Stock options. Bonuses. Access to the company jet. When I boarded that private plane for the first time, I smiled. The irony wasn't lost on me. While she bragged about upgrading to first class, I had learned how to fly my own. The post about my promotion went viral overnight. A photo of me beside the company jet. Caption simple. Sometimes coach teaches you to fly your own plane. Thousands of likes. Hundreds of comments. Even people from college reached out to congratulate me. But the real story started a few days later. Mark called, laughing nervously. "Dude, Lauren saw your post." Apparently, she had left a snarky comment about people showing off. Then deleted it minutes later. Classic her. Always needing to look like the victim. I shrugged it off. I thought that was the end of it. Until I got a message from an unfamiliar name. "Hey man, sorry to bother you. This is Ryan." It was the pilot. Her first class upgrade. He said he needed to ask me something personal about Lauren. I was already curious, so I replied. He asked if she'd ever mentioned any health issues. I told him no. He said she was sick. Kidney disease. Stage 4. Needed a transplant. My stomach turned. He said she'd told him she'd been sick for 2 years. That she was scared to tell people. That she asked him to get tested as a potential donor. They'd only been dating 3 months. He sounded shaken. I didn't know what to say. Then he said something that froze me. "She told me you refused to help her when you found out." I went still. "She said what?" He repeated it. "She said you wouldn't get tested." My hands trembled. "She never told me she was sick," I said. "Not once." We talked for hours, piecing together the lies. She'd been living a double life. Telling him I was a selfish ex. Telling me she was fine. Her so-called work trips had been visits to him in Phoenix. While I was paying for her conferences, she was on romantic getaways. And the sickness explained everything. The fatigue. The swelling. The sudden emotional distance. She hadn't left me for love. She left me for survival. She was looking for someone healthy enough to be her donor. Ryan was shocked. He said he felt used. He told her that night he couldn't stay with someone who lied like that. She cried, begged, said he was abandoning her. But he walked away. And for a moment, I felt bad for her. Not as an ex, but as a person drowning in her own lies. Ryan thanked me for being honest. Said he wished me the best. We hung up, both silent for a long time. That night I couldn't sleep. Every scene replayed in my head. Every smile, every lie. The woman I once loved wasn't real anymore. Just a stranger who traded honesty for desperation. And I knew then, sooner or later, she'd come back to me. Not for love, but for help. The call came on a Wednesday night. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. "Ethan, it's me." Her voice was thin, fragile, almost unrecognizable. "Lauren," I said quietly. She started crying before she spoke again. "I'm in the hospital. My kidneys are failing." I said nothing. I just listened. "I know I don't deserve anything from you," she continued. "But I need to ask for 5 minutes of your time." I didn't hang up. Maybe part of me still cared. She said she was on the transplant list. But time was running out. She said she remembered my blood type from a company blood drive. "It's compatible," she whispered. I felt my chest tighten. She asked if I would get tested. I stood there in silence, gripping the phone. "Are you serious?" I finally asked. "Yes," she said softly. "You're the only one I can trust." The words hit me like ice. Trust. The same word she destroyed years ago. "Lauren, you lied to me," I said. "You hid your illness. You left me. You called our life economy class." She sobbed. I panicked. I made mistakes. "But please, Ethan, I'm dying." Her voice broke. And for a second, I felt that old instinct to protect her. But then I remembered. The Facebook post. The humiliation. The months of deceit. "I'm sorry you're sick," I said slowly. "But I can't do this." She begged again. Said she'd do anything. Offered money. Offered apologies. None of it mattered. "You chose this," I said. "You chose to lie, to walk away, to find someone else." She started yelling through tears. "So you'll just let me die?" I closed my eyes. "I'm not letting you do anything. I'm just choosing not to be used again." Silence. Only her breathing through sobs. Then she whispered, "I'm sorry," and hung up. I sat there staring at the wall for a long time. Mark showed up later with beer and pizza. He took one look at me and said, "She called, didn't she?" I nodded. He listened while I told him everything. When I finished, he shook his head. "She dated you for 4 years, hid a disease, left to find a donor, and now wants her kidney." "That's about right," I said. He opened a beer, handed it to me. "You did the right thing. Don't let guilt trick you into surgery." I wanted to believe that. But guilt doesn't care about logic. It crawled into my chest and stayed there all night. I called my mom the next day. Told her everything. She said something I'll never forget. "You can care about someone's pain without sacrificing yourself to fix it." And that was when I finally understood. Love isn't proven by what you give away. Sometimes it's proven by what you refuse to give again. The messages didn't stop after that call. Every day, a new number. Every text sounded more desperate than the last. "Please reconsider. I'm scared. I'll do anything." I blocked them all. But the guilt lingered. Mark told me to stay strong. "She's manipulating you again," he said. I knew he was right, but part of me still felt cruel. A few days later, my phone rang again. This time, it wasn't her. It was my company's HR department. They said someone had been calling and emailing them about me, claiming I broke a promise to help with a medical emergency. I felt my stomach drop. I knew immediately who it was. Lauren had gone too far. I explained everything to my boss. He listened, nodded, said to handle it legally. That night, I contacted a lawyer. She said I should consider a restraining order. "She's crossing the line into harassment," the lawyer said. I didn't want to, but I had to protect myself. Being sick didn't excuse what she was doing. The next morning, I filed for it. 2 days later, I got a call from her mother. Her voice was gentle but tired. "Ethan, I know you and Lauren have history. She's not thinking straight." I told her what had happened. The lies. The calls to my job. The pressure. There was silence for a long time. Then she said quietly, "She told us you knew about her illness." I closed my eyes. "She never told me anything," I said. Her mother sighed. "I believe you. I'm sorry she dragged you into this." I thanked her. She said the restraining order was probably the right choice. After that call, the silence returned. For weeks, no messages. No drama. Then Mark called again. "Hey man, I heard she got into a kidney exchange program. Her mother was donating, but they weren't compatible. Another family would swap to make it work." For the first time, I exhaled. "I'm glad she found a solution," I said. And I meant it. I didn't want her to die. I just didn't want to be her backup plan anymore. Months passed. I started dating again. Her name was Emily. Kind, honest. She knew my story, and she never judged. One evening, a letter arrived at my office. No return address. Inside was a card signed by Lauren's family. They thanked me for understanding. No mention of the chaos before. Just gratitude. I smiled, closed the card, and threw it away. I wasn't angry. I was done. Lauren survived. I healed. And for once, that was enough. Sometimes karma doesn't come as revenge. Sometimes it arrives as reality. She got a new kidney. I got a new life. And I finally learned that saying no isn't cruelty. It's freedom. A year later, everything felt different. Lauren was alive, healthy, living quietly somewhere else. I never heard from her again. Sometimes, I'd think about how close I came to saying yes. How guilt almost convinced me to give away a piece of myself. But now I know better. I'm engaged to Emily. She's the calm after every storm. She taught me that love doesn't demand sacrifice. It invites honesty. We talk about the past sometimes. She says Lauren's story sounds like a movie. I tell her it was more like a lesson. A painful one, but necessary. Karma didn't punish anyone. It simply revealed the truth. Lauren learned that manipulation has an expiration date. And I learned that boundaries save lives too. She got her kidney. I got my peace. Maybe that's balance. Maybe that's closure. Either way, I no longer feel like economy class. I'm flying my own plane now. And this time, I'm not looking back.